Welcome to History Bedtime Stories. It is night number 68 in bed in our pajamas, and tonight let's talk about the only person ever named Poet Laureate for the state of Michigan, Edgar A. Guest. Now, Edgar A. Guest is born in Birmingham, England in 1881 and immigrates to America with his family. He gets a job as a young teenager at the Detroit Free Press newspaper, first as a copy boy, escalating in his career to being a police reporter and later an exchange editor. But through all of this, he is a poet. He writes really Americana, kind of classic, home again type poetry, and his very first poem ever published was in the Detroit Free Press on December 11th, 1898, when he is a mere 18 years old. He goes on to write 11,000 poems. 11,000 poems. It's a staggering number. He publishes multiple books. I'm really proud that I have a couple. This is the 1916 and 1917 Edgar A. Guest books. Over here, which largely deals with World War I, and A Heap O' Livin'. Edgar wrote so many books that sometimes he would publish 3 in a single year. I don't know how anyone can do that. He goes on to be syndicated in 300 newspapers throughout the English-speaking world and becomes the Poet Laureate for the state of Michigan. He hosts a weekly radio show from 1931 to 1942 and has a television show on NBC in 1951 called A Guest in Your Home. Get it? Get it? A guest in your... He is also a really distinguished member of the Detroit Freemasons. And the Freemasons here in the city have an award that is still presented annually with Edgar A. Guest's name on it. The Edgar A. Guest Award for Community Service and Acts of Humanity towards your fellow man is awarded to non-Freemasons for their service to the city, the state, or their fellow human being. He passes away in 1959 and is buried here in his beloved Detroit and Woodlawn Cemetery. But of all of Edgar A. Guest's poems, one has remained incredibly famous here in Detroit, and it is simply called In Detroit. In Detroit by Edgar A. Guest, Poet Laureate of Michigan. In Detroit, life's worth living every day. In Detroit, we're giving joys away. In Detroit, it is true, our skies are always blue. There's a smile for you and me, blithe and gay. In Detroit, life is cheerful all the while, for our people soothe the tearful with a smile. We've a helping hand to lend to a stranger, foe, or friend, and our resting time we spend on Belle Isle. In Detroit, we have pleasures by the score, and the rarest of our treasures, yes and more, is our river, oh so bright, cool and restful day and night, source of infinite delight over and over. In Detroit, life's worth living every day, for folks are gentle and forgiving if you stray. In Detroit may I be, when God's angels beckon me, over the silent unknown sea far away. When Edgar A. Guest publishes this poem, it prompts the mayor of Detroit to name him Poet Laureate of the city. And in 1912, a campaign for tourism in Detroit, that's right, 118 years ago, we had campaigns for tourism in Detroit, actually made Detroit Where Life's Worth Living the unofficial campaign and city motto. Buttons like this one were produced all over and handed out at the convention, bearing the 1912 skyline of Detroit and, of course, Edgar A. Guest's famed Detroit, Where Life is Worth Living. So here is my challenge to you. Up in the description of this video, you will see a link to the dozens of books Edgar A. Guest wrote, the Detroit Free Press archive of all of his poems, and additional poems on the Edgar A. Guest website. Choose any one you want and give us your best rendition. Just film it on your phone. If you put your rendition of Edgar A. Guest poem down in the comment section below, we'll award you with a remade button that we make here in our office featuring his logo and done off of the original. So much fun! Give us a like and a share. Wash your hands, and we'll see you tomorrow night.